The anomaly. The proximity alarm jolted Commander Naomi Harrison from her fitful sleep. She stumbled to the monitoring station of Helios Outpost, the furthest human settlement in the Arcturus sector, rubbing her eyes as the station's AI continued its insistent alert. "What have we got, Atlas?" she mumbled, activating the main display. "Unidentified vessel detected at the edge of our sensor range," the AI responded. "Mass signature and structural profile inconsistent with known ship designs." Harrison's drowsiness evaporated. Helios Station rarely saw unscheduled visitors. Their location at the boundary of explored space meant that every arrival was carefully documented and anticipated. "Show me," she ordered. The main screen flickered to life, displaying a distant object silhouetted against the backdrop of stars. The image was grainy, but Harrison could make out a vaguely familiar silhouette. Something about the configuration of the main hull and engine array triggered a memory. "Atlas, run comparison against Earth Command ship registry." "Analyzing," the AI responded. Seconds later it announced, "Partial match found, 89% structural similarity to Earth Command ship Vanguard." Harrison felt her blood run cold. The Vanguard, Earth's most advanced warship, equipped with experimental propulsion and weapons systems, had disappeared during a routine patrol through the Perseus Void 7 years ago. All 103 crew members had been declared dead after an exhaustive 6-month search yielded nothing. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Enhance and confirm." "Enhancement complete. Identity beacon detected. Verification codes match ECS Vanguard." Harrison stared at the enhanced image and felt her skin crawl. The basic structure was recognizable, the characteristic hammerhead bow and quad-engine configuration of an Orion-class warship. But the vessel was changed. Irregular protrusions extended from the once sleek hull, and strange luminescent patterns pulsed across its surface in hypnotic, flowing movements. "Is it transmitting anything besides the ID beacon?" "Negative, Commander. No standard communications detected." Harrison initiated the station's emergency protocols. "Wake the senior staff and get me a direct line to Admiral Ortega at Earth Command. Priority Alpha." Admiral Elena Ortega reviewed the transmitted images for the third time, her weathered face betraying no emotion to the assembled Joint Military Council. "The vessel was positively identified as the Vanguard," General Darius Wilson asked, leaning forward in his seat. "Identity codes match, but as you can see, the ship has been modified." Ortega gestured toward the holographic display. "Current position is holding steady at approximately 500,000 kilometers from Helios Station. No aggressive movements detected, but no response to communications either." "Life signs?" asked Director Rohan Patel of the Science Division. "Unclear. Helios long-range scanners detect energy signatures consistent with life support systems, but readings are being disrupted by unknown interference. Commander Harrison reports that the energy output of the vessel exceeds Vanguard's specifications by orders of magnitude." Fleet Commander Judith Maxwell stood up, her tall frame casting a shadow across the table. "We need to investigate. If that's really the Vanguard, or what's left of it, we need to know what happened and assess any potential threat." Ortega nodded. "That's my recommendation as well. I've already authorized deployment of the ECS Sentinel under Captain Dominic Reyes. Special Operations Team Epsilon has been attached to the mission, along with Dr. Priya Verma from Xenobiology." "Timeline?" Wilson asked. "The Sentinel can reach Helios Station in 72 hours using the Arcturus jump point." "Approved," said President Erica Washington, speaking for the first time since the meeting began. "But I want it understood. If that ship poses any threat to Earth or our colonies, it is to be neutralized immediately. We cannot afford to take chances, especially not with technology that clearly exceeds our own." Captain Dominic Reyes stood at the bridge of the ECS Sentinel, observing the transformed Vanguard through the main view screen. Up close, the alterations were even more disturbing. The once pristine hull of Earth's premier warship now appeared almost organic, with sweeping, asymmetrical structures that defied conventional engineering principles. Glowing filaments pulsed beneath what looked like translucent sections of the outer hull, reminiscent of blood vessels beneath skin. "Any response to our hails?" Reyes asked Lieutenant Zara Akafer, his communications officer. "Nothing on standard frequencies, sir. I've tried everything from emergency channels to old maritime codes." "Life signs." Science Officer Tamir Hikaru consulted his station. "I'm detecting approximately 15 humanoid signatures, but the readings are unusual. Either our sensors are being disrupted, or whatever's aboard doesn't register as fully human anymore." Reyes exchanged glances with Commander Amara Jackson, leader of Special Operations Team Epsilon. Her expression remained neutral, but he could read the tension in her posture. "Recommendations, Commander." Jackson straightened her tactical vest. "We board. My team is equipped for hostile encounter protocols, but given the uncertain nature of what we're dealing with, I'd recommend Dr. Verma accompany us." Dr. Priya Verma, who had been silently studying the sensor data at a nearby console, looked up. "I concur. Whatever happened to the Vanguard goes beyond mechanical modification. These readings suggest biological integration with technological components, something we've theorized but never encountered." Reyes nodded. "Proceed, but maintain constant communication. At the first sign of danger, you abort and return to the Sentinel. I want emergency jump coordinates programmed and ready just in case." The boarding party, consisting of Commander Jackson, 4 members of Team Epsilon, and Dr. Verma, approached the Vanguard in a reinforced shuttle. As they drew closer, they observed what appeared to be an open docking bay on the ventral side of the ship. "That wasn't there in the original design," noted Lieutenant Wei Chen, Epsilon's tech specialist. "The Vanguard had standard lateral docking ports." "It's like the ship reconfigured itself to accommodate us," Verma mused, adjusting her scanner. "Or to trap us," Sergeant Karim Nassar added grimly, checking his pulse rifle for the 3rd time. The shuttle's automated systems detected a compatible atmospheric environment within the docking bay, though Verma insisted they maintain sealed suits as a precaution. As they disembarked, they found themselves in a cavernous space that only vaguely resembled a standard Earth vessel's docking bay. The walls curved in organic patterns, with the same glowing filaments they'd observed from outside poolsing through translucent conduits. "The air composition is breathable," Verma reported, studying her handheld scanner. "Elevated levels of trace elements I don't recognize, but nothing immediately toxic." "Stay alert," Jackson ordered. "Chen, secure our exit. Nassar and Rodriguez with me. Foster, escort Dr. Verma." They moved deeper into the ship, finding corridors that twisted in ways that defied the vessel's external geometry. Standard compartments had been repurposed or removed entirely, replaced with chambers whose functions they could only guess at. Throughout, the poolsing filaments ran like nervous systems through walls and ceilings. "This ship is alive," Verma whispered, running her scanner over a section of wall. "Or at least it's semi-organic. These filaments are transmitting both energy and what appears to be data, similar to neural pathways." "Movement ahead," Rodriguez reported, raising her weapon. A figure emerged from around a curved junction, humanoid, dressed in tattered remnants of an Earth Command uniform. As it approached, they could see that the person, once human, had been extensively modified. Metallic implants protruded from pale skin, and similar glowing filaments to those in the walls pulsed beneath the surface of their flesh. Their eyes were milky white, with faint luminescence visible beneath the irises. "Epsilon team," the figure spoke, its voice oddly melodic yet distorted, as if multiple voices were speaking in near-perfect synchronization. "Earth Command has responded as projected." Jackson kept her weapon trained on the figure. "Identify yourself." This shell was once Lieutenant Commander Victor Takeda, Executive Officer, ECS Vanguard. The figure tilted its head, studying them with unblinking eyes. "The designation is no longer fully accurate." "What happened to you?" Verma asked, stepping forward despite Foster's protective arm. "What happened to the Vanguard?" We encountered the continuum at coordinates delta 739 in the Perseus Void, a civilization millions of years beyond human development. They recognized our potential and initiated integration protocols. Integration, Jackson repeated. Biological and technological synthesis, elevation beyond individual limitation. Takeda's altered form gestured around them. The vessel you knew as Vanguard has been enhanced. Its capabilities now exceed your comprehension. Where are the rest of the crew? Nassar demanded. Those who resisted integration ceased functioning. 15 accepted evolution and serve as conduits for the continuum's consciousness. Takeda paused, head tilting the other way. Captain Lydia Vargas retains partial autonomy. She wishes to communicate with Earth Command representatives. Jackson exchanged glances with Verma. Take us to her. Takeda led them deeper into the ship, to what might once have been the bridge but now resembled a biological computing nexus. In the center, partially connected to the ship through similar glowing filaments, sat a woman they recognized as Captain Vargas from historical records. Unlike Takeda, her modifications appeared less extensive, though her skin bore the same pale translucence with glowing networks visible beneath. Commander Jackson, Vargas spoke, her voice more natural than Takeda's but still carrying an unusual resonance. Dr. Verma, the continuum predicted Earth would send military and scientific personnel. Captain Vargas, Jackson acknowledged. What exactly is the continuum? A collective intelligence spanning thousands of galaxies, ancient beyond human comprehension. They exist in symbiosis with technology, transcending the limitations of purely organic or purely synthetic existence. Vargas winced, as if in pain, her next words coming in a rush. They're coming. The scout fleet reached our position in the Perseus Void 7 years ago. The main armada follows. Why are you here? Verma asked. Warning, preparation. Vargas struggled visibly, the filaments connecting her to the ship pulsing more rapidly. The Vanguard was remade as a gift, technology that might give humanity a fighting chance. The continuum values diversity. They don't wish to obliterate, only to integrate. But they cannot conceive of resistance. Those who reject union are considered non-viable. How long do we have? Jackson asked. 3 months, perhaps less. Vargas's expression twisted in pain. My autonomy diminishes. The collective consciousness grows stronger. Takeda and the others have already succumbed. I fight it only because the continuum permits it. They recognize the need for a translator you can trust. Can we reverse what they've done to you? Verma asked, scanning Vargas with her equipment. No, but the ship, the technology, it can be controlled by unmodified humans. We brought it back while part of our humanity remained. She gasped, the filaments around her brightening. You must take the Vanguard to Earth, study it, adapt it. There's knowledge in its systems that might save humanity from extinction or forced evolution. Takeda stepped forward. The integration window narrows. Decision point approaches. Will Earth Command accept the continuum's offering? Jackson looked at Vargas, whose eyes had become more luminescent, her expression slackening as the ship systems pulsed around her. We'll take you back to Earth, Jackson said firmly. But this isn't over, Captain. No, Vargas replied, her voice now blending with the harmonic quality of Takeda's. It has only begun. 72 hours later, the transformed Vanguard emerged from the Jupiter jump point, escorted by the Sentinel and 2 hastily dispatched Earth defense cruisers. As the strange vessel approached Earth orbit, military installations across the planet went a high alert. In the secure chambers of Earth Command headquarters, Admiral Ortega reviewed Commander Jackson's preliminary report. The technology aboard that ship could revolutionize our defensive capabilities, she told President Washington. Dr. Verma believes we could reverse engineer at least some of the propulsion and weapons systems. And what about this continuum? The president asked. If Captain Vargas is to be believed, we have less than 3 months before they arrive in force. Can she be trusted? She's been transformed by alien technology. Ortega's expression hardened. That's the question we need to answer quickly. Commander Jackson reports that Vargas is losing her battle against full integration. Soon, she'll be like the others, a conduit for this collective consciousness. And if we cannot trust her, if this is a trap, then we've invited an enemy agent into the heart of our defense network, Ortega sighed. But if she's telling the truth and we ignore her warning, we face extinction, Washington finished grimly. Quarantine the vessel near Luna Base. Give Dr. Verma and her team full access but implement maximum security protocols. If this ship truly represents our only hope against an advanced alien threat, we need to understand it quickly. As the meeting adjourned, Ortega looked once more at the image of the transformed Vanguard, its uncanny glow visible even against the brightness of Earth below. Humanity had 3 months to prepare for a threat unlike any they had faced before, and their best hope lay in understanding the very technology that had consumed their own. The Harbinger, the quarantine facility at Luna Base, had never been designed to house something like the transformed Vanguard. The massive vessel now hung in synchronous orbit above the crater Daedalus, surrounded by a defensive perimeter of Earth's most advanced warships. Though Admiral Ortega knew their firepower would likely prove inadequate if the alien-enhanced vessel turned hostile. Dr. Priya Verma stepped through another decontamination chamber, her third since entering the specially constructed research module attached to the Vanguard's modified hull. Behind her, a team of Earth's top scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to understand the ship's unfathomable systems. "Progress report, Doctor?" Commander Jackson asked, falling into step beside her. The Special Operations Officer had been assigned as permanent security liaison, a role that positioned her as both protector and potential executioner should the situation deteriorate. "We're making breakthroughs and hitting walls in equal measure," Verma admitted, bringing up a holographic display showing the Vanguard's internal schematics. "The propulsion system alone represents a quantum leap beyond our current capabilities. It doesn't just bend space-time. It seems to temporarily phase the vessel into a different dimensional plane entirely." "Can we replicate it?" Verma laughed without humor. "With our current manufacturing capabilities, not even close, but we might be able to adapt some of the principles to enhance our existing drives. The weapons systems are similarly advanced, though more accessible, for lack of a better term." They reached the secured chamber that had once been the Vanguard's bridge. Inside, Captain Vargas remained partially connected to the ship through a network of glowing filaments. Her condition had deteriorated over the past 2 weeks. The autonomous personality that had greeted them at first contact was now fragmented, emerging only in brief windows between periods of integration with what she called the continuum consciousness. "Captain Vargas," Verma called softly, "are you present?" Vargas's head lifted slowly, her luminescent eyes focusing with visible effort. "Priya, Amara." Her voice fluctuated between her natural cadence and the harmonic resonance of the continuum. "Time compresses." "We need more information about the continuum's capabilities," Jackson said, her tone gentle despite the urgency. "Their weaknesses, if any, exist." "No conventional weaknesses." Vargas struggled visibly, the filaments around her pulsing more intensely. "They exist across multiple dimensions, physical weapons, ineffective against their true form." "Then why give us weapons?" Verma asked. "To fight their constructs, the physical manifestations they send ahead." Vargas convulsed suddenly, her back arching as the filaments brightened. When she spoke again, her voice carried the full harmonic quality of the altered Taikta. "The Vanguard of the continuum approaches. Preparation window narrows." Jackson exchanged glances with Verma. "Captain, we need you to fight it. Stay with us." Vargas's eyes cleared momentarily, desperation evident in her expression. "The ship holds more than weapons. There's a disruption matrix. They don't know. I hid it in the tertiary data core. Access sequence. Delta Victor 973. Her voice degraded into a series of harmonic tones before she slumped forward, the filaments around her glowing steadily. "What just happened?" Jackson demanded. Verma was already moving to a nearby console. "She's given us something they don't want us to have. Delta Victor 973. In the secure conference room of Earth Command Headquarters, Fleet Commander Maxwell slammed her fist on the table. We're running out of time. Dr. Verma's team has made significant progress adapting the weapon systems, but without the propulsion enhancements, our ships will be sitting ducks against an advanced enemy. The engineering challenges are immense, Director Patel countered. We're trying to understand technology that's potentially millions of years beyond our development. It's like asking Leonardo da Vinci to build a fusion reactor after glimpsing a modern power plant. Admiral Ortega studied the latest intelligence projections. Long-range sensors have detected gravitational anomalies consistent with Captain Vargas's description of continuum vessels. Current trajectory puts them at Earth's doorstep in approximately 3 weeks, far sooner than initially projected. President Washington's holographic avatar flickered at the head of the table. What about this disruption matrix Dr. Verma discovered? It's our most promising lead, Ortega admitted. According to the fragmented data Captain Vargas concealed, it's designed to sever the connection between continuum consciousness and their technological constructs. In theory, it could render their ships and weapons inert by disconnecting them from the controlling intelligence. In theory, General Wilson emphasized skeptically, and implementing it would require getting close enough to deploy it directly into their command network. A suicide mission, Maxwell stated flatly. Perhaps, Ortega agreed, but Captain Vargas believed it was important enough to hide from the continuum consciousness that had already subsumed most of her mind. That tells me it's our best shot. Washington's expression hardened. Develop the matrix. Adapt what weapons systems we can. I've already authorized full mobilization of Earth defense forces and evacuation protocols for key colonies. If this continuum truly seeks to integrate humanity against our will, they'll find we don't surrender our autonomy easily. 2 days later, Dr. Verma stood before the assembled Joint Military Council, dark circles under her eyes betraying her exhaustion. The disruption matrix is ready for preliminary testing, she announced. But there's a complication. It requires a human operator directly interfaced with the Vanguard systems. Interfaced how exactly? President Washington asked, her holographic avatar leaning forward. Neural integration, Verma explained reluctantly. Similar to what happened to the Vanguard's crew, but more controlled. We've developed safeguards that should prevent full subsumption into the continuum consciousness, but whoever pilots the Vanguard will be temporarily joined with its systems. A heavy silence fell over the room. That's insanity, General Wilson finally said. You're suggesting we willingly submit one of our people to the same process that transformed Captain Vargas and her crew. With critical modifications, Verma insisted. The integration would be partial and reversible. Most importantly, it would give us direct control over the Vanguard's advanced systems, something we haven't been able to achieve through conventional interfaces. Admiral Ortega studied Verma's face. You've already tested it, haven't you? Verma nodded slowly. On myself, limited integration under controlled conditions, I was able to access the ship's defensive protocols before disconnecting. She drew a deep breath. It was overwhelming, but I maintained my autonomy. And you're volunteering to serve as the neural pilot for the actual mission, Ortega concluded. No, Commander Jackson stepped forward from where she had been observing at the back of the room. I am. All eyes turned to her. Commander, Maxwell questioned. With respect, this is a military operation with extreme risk. Dr. Verma is essential to developing the technology further. I'm trained for high-risk insertions, and my neural patterns showed the highest compatibility during preliminary scans. Jackson's gaze moved around the room, meeting each leader's eyes. I understand the risks and accept them. Washington studied her for a long moment. Very well, Commander. Proceed with the integration tests. But understand, if at any point your consciousness appears compromised, Admiral Ortega has authorization to terminate the connection by any means necessary. Jackson nodded grimly. Understood, Madam President. The integration chamber had been constructed within the Vanguard's modified hull, utilizing both Earth technology and the semi-organic interfaces of the transformed vessel. Commander Jackson lay on a reclined platform, surrounded by medical monitoring equipment, and the security team led by Sergeant Nassar. "Vitals stable," reported Dr. Marcus Kwan, the neurologist overseeing the procedure. "Brainwave patterns normal." Dr. Verma stood at the primary console, her fingers moving with practiced precision across the alien-human hybrid interface. "Integration sequence initiating, 10% neural connection, 20%. Jackson's body tensed as the first tendrils of semi-organic filaments extended from the chamber walls, making contact with specially designed interfaces on her neural implant. Unlike the invasive integration that had transformed Captain Vargas and her crew, this connection was mediated through technology of Earth's design, incorporating safeguards against full assimilation. "Neural pathways linking," Kwan announced. "Consciousness separation protocols holding." Jackson gasped, her eyes flying open. Instead of her normal brown irises, they now glowed with the same luminescence they had observed in the transformed crew. But unlike Vargas, Jackson's expression remained alert, her gaze focused. "Commander," Verma asked tentatively, "can you hear me?" "Yes," Jackson replied, her voice overlaid with a subtle harmonic quality that sent chills through the observation team. "I can. I can see the ship, all of it, every system, every circuit, every consciousness." "The other crew members?" Nassar asked sharply. "They're here but distant, submerged in something vast." Jackson's brow furrowed. "The continuum consciousness is trying to access me, but the barriers are holding." Verma moved closer. "Can you control the ship systems?" "Yes, it's intuitive, like the ship is an extension of my body." Jackson's eyes widened suddenly. "They're coming, the Continuum fleet. I can sense them through the ship's long-range detection systems. They've accelerated. Arrival in 6 days." Ortega, who had been silently observing from a secure feed, immediately activated her command channel. "Accelerate deployment preparations. All Earth defense vessels to combat readiness in 48 hours." Jackson's expression shifted, becoming more focused. "I can do more than detect them. I can communicate with them." "Absolutely not," Ortega interrupted. "Maintain separation, Commander." "Not integration, Admiral," Jackson clarified. "The Vanguard's communications array, it's designed to function across the dimensional barriers the continuum traverses. I could send a message." "What kind of message?" Verma asked. "A warning that humanity rejects their gift of integration, that we choose our autonomy." Ortega considered this. "Proceed, but maintain minimal contact. We need information, not conversation." Jackson nodded, her luminescent eyes unfocusing slightly as she directed the Vanguard systems. Moments later, her expression changed to one of alarm. "They've responded. Their message, it's not in words exactly, more like concepts, emotions." Her breathing accelerated. "They're amused. They don't understand rejection. To them, integration is evolution, advancement. They see our resistance as primitive fear." "Did they accelerate because they detected our preparations?" Ortega demanded. "No, because of the disruption matrix. They sense it now through me." Jackson's voice took on an urgency. "We need to move now. Deploy the Vanguard immediately while I still maintain control." "Impossible," Kwan interjected. "We haven't completed full testing of the neural interface. Prolonged exposure could result in permanent integration or neural collapse." "If we wait, we lose our advantage," Jackson insisted, the harmonic overtones in her voice strengthening. "The continuum is adaptive. They're already working to neutralize the disruption matrix through the Vanguard systems." A tense silence fell over the chamber. Finally, Ortega spoke. "Prepare the Vanguard for immediate deployment. Commander Jackson will pilot with Dr. Verma and a minimal support team aboard. The Earth Defense Fleet will provide escort to the projected emergence point of the Continuum vessels." Admiral, Verma began, "the risks are considerable," Ortega finished. "But waiting carries greater risk. Sometimes, Commander Jackson, the only way to win is to change the rules of engagement." Jackson's luminescent eyes met Ortega's through the video feed. "Understood, Admiral. Initiating pre-launch sequence." 3 days later, the transformed Vanguard, escorted by Earth's most advanced warships, held position at the coordinates where long-range sensors predicted the Continuum fleet would emerge. Commander Jackson remained connected to the vessel's systems, her consciousness increasingly intertwined with the ship despite the safeguards. "Disruption matrix primed," she reported, her voice now carrying complex harmonic overtones that reminded the bridge crew uncomfortably of the fully transformed Taikta. "Targeting systems locked on the projected emergence coordinates." Dr. Verma monitored Jackson's neural patterns with growing concern. "Commander, your integration levels are approaching critical thresholds. The barriers between your consciousness and the ship systems are degrading." "I know," Jackson replied calmly. "It's necessary. To deploy the Matrix at maximum effectiveness, I need deeper access to the targeting systems." From the Sentinel's bridge, Captain Reyes observed the Vanguard with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The once familiar warship now pulsed with alien energy, its hull configurations shifting subtly as Jackson directed its systems. "Fleet status?" he asked Lieutenant Aucaffer. "All vessels in defensive formation, weapons hot. The Mars and Jupiter defense platforms have been repositioned to provide additional coverage." "It won't be enough," Reyes murmured, more to himself than his crew. Everything depended on Jackson's mission succeeding if the disruption matrix failed. "Spatial distortion detected," announced Hikaru from the science station. "Multiple signatures emerging at coordinates 227 by 344. The viewscreen shifted to show what appeared to be tears in the fabric of space itself, not the familiar flash of human FTL transitions, but something far more unsettling. As they watched, massive structures began to materialize through these rifts, vessels of impossible geometry that seemed to exist partially in dimensions beyond normal human perception. "Continuum vessels detected," Jackson's voice announced across the fleet communications. 7 capital ships, dozens of smaller constructs. Configuration matches Vanguard's threat assessment database. "All vessels maintain position," Ortega ordered from her command center on Earth. "Do not initiate hostile action unless fired upon." The lead Continuum vessel, a massive structure resembling an inverted pyramid with fractal extensions that seemed to bend in ways that hurt the human eye to observe, positioned itself directly opposite the Vanguard. No conventional communication was attempted, but aboard the transformed ship, Jackson stiffened in her neural interface. "They're reaching out," she reported, strain evident in her voice, "attempting to establish direct consciousness link." "Resist it, Commander," Verma urged, adjusting the neural barriers. "No," Jackson countered. "This is our opportunity. They're opening their network to me to us. Initiating disruption matrix upload." The Vanguard surged forward suddenly, its modified engines flaring with unearthly light as it accelerated toward the Continuum flagship. Earth vessels moved to follow, but Jackson's voice cut across their communications. "All Earth vessels maintain position. Do not approach." "Commander, what are you doing?" Ortega demanded. "The Matrix needs direct integration with their primary consciousness node. I'm going to deliver it personally." Jackson's voice had become almost entirely harmonic now, but her words remained her own. Captain Vargas understood this. It's why she fought so hard to maintain her autonomy, to hide this strategy from them. Aboard the Sentinel, Reyes watched in horror as the Vanguard accelerated toward what appeared to be certain destruction. "Jackson, pull back. That's an order." "Can't do that, Captain," she replied, an almost serene quality entering her harmonic voice. "The math only works one way here. One ship, one consciousness, for the autonomy of an entire species." The Vanguard closed distance rapidly with the Continuum flagship. Energy patterns of incredible complexity began to form between the two vessels, not weapons fire, but some form of direct interaction between their systems. "Commander Jackson's neural patterns are phasing directly into the Continuum network," Verma reported urgently to Ortega. "The disruption matrix is transmitting, but it's taking her consciousness with it." "Jackson, abort mission," Ortega ordered. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Admiral. Jackson's voice came through clearly one last time. Humanity deserves its own path, its own evolution. Tell them I chose this. The Vanguard's hull began to pulse with increasingly intense light as it merged with the geometric structure of the Continuum flagship. For a moment, the two vessels appeared to exist in the same space, overlapping in ways that defied physics. Then, abruptly, a shock wave of energy erupted from the point of contact, spreading outward in a rapidly expanding sphere. As it washed over the Earth fleet, their systems fluctuated briefly before stabilizing. The Continuum vessels, however, responded dramatically. Their impossible geometries began to collapse, their structures fragmenting as the connections to their controlling consciousness were severed. The disruption matrix is working, Verma breathed, watching as the Continuum fleet's coordinated movements deteriorated into disarray. They're being cut off from their collective network. Where the Vanguard had made contact with the flagship, a spatial rift lingered, a wound in reality that pulsed with energies beyond human understanding. Through this rift, something that might have been communication flowed. Not words, not even concepts, but a fundamental acknowledgement. As suddenly as they had appeared, the damaged Continuum vessels began to withdraw, their fractured forms retreating through the same spatial tiers they had emerged from. Within minutes, only the lingering rift remained as evidence of the encounter. All Continuum vessels have retreated from the system, Hikaru reported in disbelief. Long-range sensors show their signatures dissipating. And the Vanguard? Reyes asked, though he already knew the answer. No trace, sir. Complete molecular dissociation at the point of contact. 1 month later, Admiral Ortega stood before the Joint Military Council, delivering her final report on what had become known as the Continuum Incident. Based on Dr. Verma's analysis of the data recovered from the encounter, we believe Commander Jackson's sacrifice fundamentally altered the Continuum's perception of humanity. By willingly merging her consciousness with their network while simultaneously deploying the disruption matrix, she demonstrated both our technological capability and our absolute commitment to maintaining our autonomy. And you believe they won't return? President Washington asked. Dr. Verma's team has detected no further signs of Continuum activity in our space. The spatial rift has closed, and long-range gravitational sensors show their fleet continuing to move away from Earth-controlled space. Ortega paused. However, I recommend we continue developing the defensive technologies we were able to adapt from the Vanguard. The universe has proven larger and stranger than we imagined. We should be prepared for other encounters. Agreed, Washington nodded. And Commander Jackson, what do we tell the public? Ortega's expression softened slightly. That she gave her life to protect Earth and human autonomy. That when faced with an intelligence that could not conceive of our right to self-determination, she taught them the meaning of human choice and the price we're willing to pay for freedom. As the council session ended, Dr. Verma approached Ortega with a data tablet. Admiral, there's something you should see. We've been analyzing the final transmission burst from the Vanguard before it disintegrated. Ortega took the tablet, frowning at the complex waveform displayed. What am I looking at? A consciousness imprint, Verma explained quietly. Commander Jackson's neural pattern, but altered, expanded somehow. It wasn't destroyed in the encounter, Admiral. It was transformed. Into what? I don't know, but it's still out there, traveling along the pathways the Continuum uses between dimensions. Verma's eyes reflected a mixture of scientific fascination and human awe. Whatever she became, she's watching over us. I'm certain of it. Ortega gazed out at the stars visible through the headquarters' panoramic windows. The first human ambassador to a realm beyond our understanding. Yes, Verma agreed, and perhaps when we're ready, a guide to whatever comes next. In the vast darkness between stars, something that had once been Commander Amara Jackson observed the world she had saved. A tiny blue planet whose inhabitants had demonstrated a quality the Continuum had not encountered in millions of years of integration. The unbreakable will to determine their own destiny, even against forces that could reshape reality itself. It was a quality worth preserving, worth expanding into the greater consciousness that stretched across galaxies. Humanity would chart its own course among the stars, and when they ventured far enough, she would be waiting,